Hello everyone and welcome to another solutions video. This is for Deltix round autumn 2021. So if you're wondering why I didn't make solutions for previous few rounds, that is because I was busy on a trip from ShareChat where I'm interning. So yeah, I'm not lazy. I just couldn't make them. Physically not possible for me. That being said, let's get started on the solutions. So problem A, divide and multiply. So in this problem, we are given an array a1, a2, a3, an, and we can do some operations. And what that operation is choose two indices I and j, and divide one of them by 2 and multiply the other by 2. And this is only possible if if ai is divisible by 2. Okay, so divisible by 2. So now what we want to do is we want to do this operation as many times as we want, such that the sum of this array's elements is maximum possible. So observe this operation. What is happening in this operation? We are taking a 2. So every number is like some p1 k1, p2 k2, px kx, right? So this is the prime factorization of every ai, right? And one of them can be 2, and if it is 2, what we are doing is we are removing it one by one from here and putting it somewhere else. So essentially we are removing 2 from some number and then moving it to another, right? Because we are multiplying it to some other number. And what we want to do is we want to make the sum of these numbers maximum. So if we can multiply 2, so as you can see, we can move this multiplication factor of 2 from a1 to any other a, or a2 to any other a if it is there. So how will I get maximum sum? That's right, by moving this multiplication factor to the largest number without any two multiplier. So what I'm doing in this is I'm taking all these numbers and counting how many 2's are multiplied in all these numbers. So let's say k times, then remove all of them, okay, from these a. I get a new array b1, b2, b3 up to bn, and in this array it is basically, so bi is basically wait, let me use eraser here. So here mathematically bi is equals to, while ai is divisible by 2, okay, while this we divided by equals to 2, and then in the end assign it to bi. After that we can just sort them, and now whichever is the biggest number we want to multiply 2 with that number, because let's say we have 5 and 7. If you can multiply 2 here or here, where will you multiply to maximize their sum? That's right, you will multiply to the bigger number. So you'll multiply all 2's to the bigger number. For implementation, you can have a look here. So I take in an input, a input, and then I count the number of 2's, okay, and I also reduce them. So I make the array a into b, then I sort it into descending order, and then multiply the first element by 2 and then print the summation. Okay, so problem B. So in this problem we are given a string, okay, which is like this: c a b b a c c b a, something like this. So we have a string and every character is either a, b or c. Now what we want to tell is the number of elements, the minimum number of elements we need to change such that there is no substring abc in it. So right now you can see they are ABC. Let's say there are two substrings, and so minimum number of elements that we need to change to the minimum number of elements we need to change such that no ABC exists would be 2. In fact, the number of elements we need to change, the minimum number of elements we need to change such that no ABC exists is equals to the number of ABCs. Okay. And the reason for this is that let's take this. Okay. We have this one occurrence and then let's take another occurrence. As you can see, they cannot overlap with each other because its first element, its last element and its first element are different. Since they can never overlap, that means that all these ABC substrings are independent of each other. So minimum number of changes required is equals to the number of times ABC occurs. With that in mind, now let's address the actual problem. So what the problem says is we are given queue operations. In every operation, what we are doing is we are given some position and we do this updation. We are given some new character, let's say X, and we update the character at position to be X. And then after every operation, we want to tell how many minimum number of changes are required to get rid of all ABCs. So what we need is the number of ABCs. Now to solve this, notice that let's say this is position element, right? And this is to its left and right, its vicinity. So if this element changes, it can at maximum affect any substring, because the only substring we care about is ABC, right? So at worst case, it can affect substrings in this zone, right? +2 and -2. So only this much changes. So what we can do is just recalculate for this much area, which is again constant time, right? It is like O3 or O4, which is O1. So what we can do is initially pre-calculate the number of occurrences of ABC, right? This would be O, so it can be O3n or ON or whatever you want to use. Now what you can do is after every operation you update the element and recalculate for this much, for this -2 to +2 vicinity, and doing that you can get the solution. So let's have a look at the implementation. So we take the input, get the string, we count the initial number of ABC substrings. So as you can see, I'm checking the middle element is B, left element is A, right element is C, then count ++. Now for every query I get the position and character, I reduce it to get to 0 based indexing, and then starting is P-2, ending is P+2. I'm doing bound checking by 0 and n-1, because on the left we cannot go beyond 0 and on right we cannot go beyond n-1. And then in this range, if there was any ABC, first of all I remove it, right? First of all I remove it, then I do the update and then I add again. If there is any change, it will be reflected, and then I just print this count. Okay, so the third problem, complex market analysis. So in this problem we are given an array, okay, and what we want to do is we want to count the number of pairs I comma k such that both are greater than or equal to 1, and their I plus e times k, we are given some constant e, is less than or equals to n, and this is more, more easy to understand. What this means is ai times ai plus e times we keep doing this I plus k. So let's say we choose I equals to 2 and k equals to 3 and e is, let's say, 2. So in this array, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A9 and A10, we will choose this element and then take a stride of 2. So 1, 2, take this element, take this element. Okay, so 1, 2, and then take another stride, 1, 2. So as you can see, we are taking k elements, each with a gap of e starting from I. So we want to tell the number of I comma k such that we choose elements like this and their product. What is their product? The product is a2 times a4 times a6. We want this to be a prime number. Okay, and we just want to tell the number of I and k possible, both greater than equal to 1, such that this holds. So how to do this? Well, first of all, you have to realize that if product of few numbers is prime, that means only one of them is prime and other are 1, right? Because let's say 1 is a prime number. Okay, let's say a2 was prime and a4 was also prime, then their product won't be prime, right? Their product would be divisible by a2 and a4. So what we want is only one of them to be a prime number and all others to be 1. Now I made a hilarious blunder here, and what I thought was that all these numbers have to be prime numbers, not necessarily only one has to be prime. So yeah, hopefully you didn't make that mistake or won't make that mistake if you're following along. Anyways, so how to do this? Well, as you can see for a1, so let's say we take I equals to 1, right? Then I can choose k from some 1 to, let's say, some x, and the elements that would be in the consideration are a1, a3, a5, a7, a9, and if I take 2, elements in consideration would be 2, 4, 6, 8. What I'm saying is, let's say I took let's say elements were like this and ke was 4. Okay, then that means I take there is some sort of grouping. So a1 goes with 1, 2, 3, 4. A1 goes with a5, a2 goes with a6, a3 goes with a7, and a4 is alone. So as you can see, there are e groups, and each group is of size n by e, and we just have to solve for each independent group. What we can do is, so let's say I have ai plus e, ai plus 2e, ai plus, let's say, some xe. Now for all, what this I would go from 0 to e, right? Because the eth index would come in the group with a0. So what we want to do here is we want to count number of subarrays such that only one prime exists. So first of all, let's pre-compute all the prime numbers in the possible range. We can use sieve of Eratosthenes or whatever it is called, and then let's say I am taking this number and it is prime. Then what I want is the numbers immediately to it which are left, which are 1, and immediately right to it which are 1. Okay, only those can be considered in the subarray count. Okay, so let's say this is our prime number p, and there are some ones on the right and some ones on the left. So the number of subarrays would be 1. So we can either choose the subarray to end here or here or here or here or here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the number of ones, the number of consecutive ones on the immediate left plus 1 multiplied by number of immediate ones on the right plus 1, because array can end here as well. But then we subtract 1 because we want k to be greater than equal to 1, right? So that means the subarray should be greater than 1 size. So we cannot consider this subarray. So we just have to do this. and here as you can see I'm doing integer NE. I take the input and then I form the N by E size bands or groups, whatever you can call them. I call them current. So from Ji to less than N plus equals to E, I form it and then I solve for this. What I'm doing here is, what is this map? Okay, this map is irrelevant, forget this. It is from my previous failed attempts. So yeah, forget this. So I'm storing what are the immediate previous number of ones, and if the current number is 1, then I increase previous, otherwise I set it to 0 because now the streak is broken, and then I continue. Now if my number is prime, right, first of all I check if it is not prime. Now if it is prime, I'm counting the number of ones immediately to the right of it here, and then I'm doing that equation I wrote here, and then I'm setting previous equals to next, updating the pointer, and here is the sieve of Eratosthenes. Okay, problem D. So in this problem you have to realize that constraint is n is less than equals to 1000. I just didn't even read the constraint like an idiot, and that is why I wasted a lot of time here as well. So what's happening in this problem? In this problem there are some people, so there are people 1 2 3 up to n, and we want to do this sub problem for every I. Now what that means is, let me tell you. So the person who is asking the problem, what he wants is, for the ith output, what is the premise? The premise is like this: the first I conditions need to be met. So let's say for the fourth output, this and this condition need to meet. And what the condition is? The condition is that 1 is connected to 2, not necessarily directly, it can also be like this. Okay, so what we want is, so here as you can see we want 1 to be connected with 2, 3 to be connected with 4, 2 to be connected with 4, so it can even be like this, and 7 to be connected by 6. And then what we want to tell is, we want to tell that if all these conditions meet and there are exactly I connections, okay, so 4 connections, as you can see there are 4 connections, then what is the maximum possible degree of some vertex? Now this is not the case where there can be a maximum degree, but what if this edge was like this? What if this edge wasn't like this, but instead it was like this? In that case, what is this? So in that case, as you can see, 2 has a degree of 3, which is maximum possible. So we just want to answer it for every I. So how can we solve this? So let's go back to the drawing board, and so we have all these vertices initially. Now here let's say we were asked to connect 1 and 2. Okay, good. The maximum possible vertex degree can be just 1. Now let's say we were asked to connect 2 and 3. Okay, now here notice, connecting 2 and 3 is okay, we can connect, and then 2 has maximum degree of 2. But now let's say we are asked to connect 3 and 6, then here we don't want to connect 3 with 6. See, I mean we want to connect 6, with 3, but not necessarily directly. So instead, if we connect it with 2, we can get maximum degree of 3, which is better. So notice that if I'm connecting to a previously connected component, right, I want to connect the new vertex such that the star formation remains. So let's say I want to connect 7 now to, let's say, 1. I will connect it with 2 instead. So such that one vertex get as many degree as possible. Let's make some more vertices. And now let's say I was asked to connect 4 and 10. Okay, good. Can't do anything about it. Now let's say I was asked to connect 9 and 10. Can't really do much about it. Then let's say we were asked to connect 8 and 9. So I will connect, like I said, connect such that one vertex gets all the degree. But now let's say we were asked to connect, and even in this case as well, the answer is 4, right? Because this still leads, but if this was not there, this would lead and give us 3. But now let us say we were asked to connect 1 and 3. Okay, as you can see, they are already connected. So we can use this vertex, we can use this extra vertex to give some more degree to this 2. What can we do? We can connect 2 to 5 and get answer to 5. But is that maximum? No, that is not. We can connect 2 to 10, but again, there's only 1. However, we can do a little bit of rearrangement. So initially it was like this, right? 2, 1, 3, 6 and 7. And I had this thing. I'm not gonna redraw this one. So I had this. Now what I can do is first of all connect this 10 to 2. Okay, connected. And now remove this edge. Okay. Okay, instead let's do it like this. So I connected 2 with 10, and then after I remove this edge, I connect that to 2 again, and then I remove this edge as well, and I connect this with 9, with 2, and then I remove this edge as well. Okay, and I connect that as well with 2. So as you can see, with just one extra edge at our disposal, we were able to break down this entire component and connect it with another in this star formation. So what that means, and this follows, okay, this can happen for any bigger component size, because you saw, right, we need one extra edge to connect to that component, and then we keep breaking edge one by one in the previous star formation to the current star formation. Okay, so this problem transforms into a new problem, and the problem is that at ith step what we want to calculate is let's say this was not the case. Okay, we were not asked to connect 1 and 3. Okay, so when we were not asked to connect 1 and 3, now in this scenario, let's say we were asked the query, and here the answer would be 4, right? And now when we were asked to connect 1 and 3, what we are doing is we have one extra edge, right? So what we can do is we can use one extra connected component into our main component. The main component was the biggest one, and now we can use one extra because we have one extra edge. So we can dismantle the next biggest connected component and connect it with this one. If we had, and then let's say we were asked to connect 4 and 9, as you can see, these are also already connected. So I can take the next biggest connected component, which is this single vertex, and connect it with this. And Yeah, so what I need to do at any ith step, okay, I need to know how many extra edges I have, and then and also I need the size of all the connected components. Okay, so for this it was 5. For there were the sizes were 5, 4 and 1, right? Then if I had 0 extra edges, the answer was 5 minus 1. If I had 1 extra edge, the answer was their combination, which is 9 minus 1. If I had one more extra edge, the answer was the combination of all these three, which is 10, and then subtract 1, right? Because that's how star graphs are. So this is the new problem. And now how to do this? Well, now you need to see that n is very small and you can just do this using a DSU. So let me show you my implementation for a better explanation. So what I'm doing is, first of all, I'm making a multiset and I'm storing all the sizes. I am storing the negative of the size so that I get the biggest size in the beginning. Now I make a DSU, and now this is just my abstraction for the DSU. You can use your own, no problem. Now I take input the two vertex I need to connect, and then I call the join function. Now in the join function I did some changes. Okay, if these two already belong to the same component, that is no need for connection. Okay, that means we have one extra edge, so I increase this extra variable and I return. However, if I didn't need to connect, okay, if I needed to connect, then what I do is, first of all, I remove the previous sizes of the components from the set, and then I do the merging. This is union by size for the joint set, and then I insert the new size. Okay, and now after merging, okay, after doing the join function, I know that what I need to do is I need to calculate the sum of extra plus one element connected components, right? Because if I had 0 extra, I can use only one component. So the first component, if I had 1 extra, I use the 2 components. So I use extra plus 1 components, and what I do is I iterate from the beginning, and while count is less than extra, so extra starts from 1, so that I use less than sign here. If extra starts from 0, I should use less than equals to 0 here. So yeah, I iterate in the multiset, and I keep adding the value, and I negate it because I am storing it in negative, and then I remove 1 from it, because whatever the graph size, whatever the connected component size is, the connected components look like this, right? Okay, so yeah, that was it. And yeah, I just print it and I keep doing this. So yeah, that was it. That was the solution for problem D. And I had a very bad rank today because I made 2 blunders. First one was thinking that product of prime is prime. That was hilarious. The second blunder, like I already said, was not reading the constraint. It is not even hilarious, it is just stupid. I'll be back to expert now, I think, most probably. Yeah, minus 100. Nice. At least it is even. So yeah, that is it. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, leave a like. If you disliked it, leave a like, because dislike is kind of disabled now. And subscribe.